Hello and welcome to this first episode of Holidays at OMC. I want to welcome you to my cabin, and we're going to take a journey back in time where we're going to see how people celebrated the holidays in the late mid-1800s here in Lambton County. Today we're in my cabin that is fairly typical of the time period. You'll notice if you see that there is no hydroelectricity or running water. This was fairly typical of the time period. We believe this cabin to be built in the late 1800s, and we do know for a fact it served as the post office in 1895, serving the people of Edie's Mills. So today we're going to look at how people celebrated. Now, people back then, the holidays were a very important time like they were today. They would have gathered with friends and family to celebrate and to enliven the dark days. By December, it was quite dark and gloomy, so they would have done things to liven it up. And one of those things is they would have decorated their homes. They would have practiced the ancient tradition of bringing greenery into the home to symbolize life and rebirth. So you can see they would have brought in some cedar or some evergreen boughs. And at this period of time, people also had a Christmas tree. Now, the size of their Christmas tree depended on how much room there was in their home. This cabin is quite small, so the family would not have had a full-size Christmas tree. They might have just had a small tabletop tree, and they would have decorated it and hung the presents on the tree or put them just underneath it. Today we're going to look at some of the decorations they might have made. Now, the Victorians loved the holidays, and those that were in wealthier families would have gone to the store to buy fancy glass balls to decorate their home and fancy ribbons. Other families would have had to make do with homemade ornaments. And I happen to think some of the homemade ornaments are rather charming, and we should still be doing some of that today. And this was an activity that could involve the whole family. And I encourage you to gather your family around and make some of these ornaments that we're going to demonstrate today. Today we're going to look at dried fruit slices. So the Victorians would have had an abundance of fruit newly available to them, and this would have been a treasure and a luxury that would have only happened at this time of year. So we're going to start with one that everybody would have had access to here in Lambton County, and that is an apple. They would have made dried apple slices, and we're going to start that today. So I have a nice rosy apple from a local orchard. Please patronize your local orchards. Those are always the best apples. They taste the juiciest, and they would have cut it in a particular way. So I'm going to cut this apple, and we're going to cut it into slices. But instead of cutting an apple into segments like we might at home, we're going to cut it straight through. So I'm going to cut this apple, and it's because we want to see the unique designs that are on the inside of the apple. So you can see that I'm cutting it into fairly even pieces. And it's because what we want is we want to see the apple, and on the inside of an apple is this beautiful star. I would have left the pits in, and as it dries, that star would have expanded. Now, it's really important. This is exactly how you do it. You would cut it this way, and you would take a wooden skewer, and this is very important, and you would make a hole at the top. This hole is very important because this hole is where you're going to put the string to hang your ornament up to decorate your home. And then you would take some paper towel and you would gently press out most of the moisture. So you can see that we're pressing out the moisture, and we would then lay these all on our drying rack. Now, these ornaments were very simple to make. You could also enliven them up with a little bit of sprinklings of cinnamon, just to give them that great aroma, and make sure you pat them dry. The lady of this house, she may have hung them over her stove or just set her wire rack on her stove to allow these to dry. Today, if you want to speed up the process and so that it does not take several days, I highly recommend you take your apple slices, you put them on a rack in your oven at about 200 degrees for 5 to 6 hours. They'll still be quite moist and a little malleable and rubbery, but as they hang in your house and give off that beautiful aroma, they will dehydrate even more. And we have an example right here. So this is one that we made last year, and you can see it's dried down, it's got a little curled, and you can see the star in the middle. If you don't want your apples to turn brown, no problem. Just soak them in a little bit of water, salt, and lemon juice. And that lemon juice will prevent the oxidation of the fruit and it won't go brown. So we have our apples. We have one other thing, an orange. These were treasures to behold, and they were luxuries, and you may have only got an orange at Christmas. And to show the prosperity of the family, you may have decided to preserve that orange by slicing it and hanging it. So we're going to take this orange and we're going to give it some slices. Now the ends where it was mostly just rind, that's not a problem. We would save those to make candied peels. So once again, I'm cutting them into about nice thickness, about half the thickness of a slice of bread. And once again, I'm going to pat them dry because it allows them to dehydrate quicker. But one of the things about oranges is they would have also studded them. They would have shown the prosperity of the family by using some expensive spices. So I have some of those expensive spices here. This is cloves. Orange and clove is a very Christmassy feeling. Spices showed the prosperity of the family, and cloves were particularly important since they were also a preservative. They prevented things from going moldy or growing other additional bacteria. So we can take the cloves, and this is the fun bit for if you have kids, you just stud them in. So you could create some lovely designs just studding in the cloves all around your ornaments. So I'm putting them right in, and it just smells nice. It smells like Christmas. Okay, so I would do that, and once again, I would take my skewer and make sure there was a hole in at the top. Make sure you go all the way through to then string it. And you want your hole to be a fairly good size, so really work it in so that you can get that string, ribbon, or fishing line through. And we'll continue to stud these all up. And once again, you could put these in with your apple slices. The oranges do take a little bit longer to dehydrate. You would put them in the oven at about 200 degrees. I would recommend putting them in overnight. So about 6 to 8 hours, and then you would string them up. And you can see we have some examples here. So you can see we had one that we made last year. They do preserve and last a very long time. We made these here at the Oil Museum of Canada, and we store them in a metal cookie tin, and they can be used year after year. One of the other things the Victorians were very fond of is on Christmas Day, if you made fresh ornaments, you would just eat them. You could take this orange slice studded with cloves and just pop it in your tea to create that Christmassy warm beverage. Or you could eat one of the dried apple slices as an apple chip. And if you don't want to store these and create a yearly tradition, it's not a problem to feed them to the birds and the animals. They are just natural things and will go back to the earth. But this was a way for the Victorians to create that warm Christmassy feeling by using expensive exotic fruits such as an orange or cloves or cinnamon. And you can do the same thing with making gingerbreads and hanging on the trees, or toasted nuts, or other things that you can find around the environment and make a natural Victorian tree. I hope you've enjoyed this. We're going to put the recipe up in the comments below and on our website. So please, if you have any comments, like and follow us at the Oil Museum of Canada on our YouTube channel, or follow us on Facebook or Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any suggestions of future episodes, let us know. Bye for now.